Hey, what is going on, guys? Thanks for checking out this video, my sports Gematria. In this video, I'm going to go over some NBA games for Tuesday, November 16th, 2021. I'm going to show you highlights of each side, and it's going to be up to you to determine who you think will win based on the numbers. I encourage you to add additional information on top of this if needed for you to feel confident in your own pick. And if for some reason you're curious to know who I'm picking in these games, you'll have to join my Patreon. My picks are always in writing, underlined, and italicized. For more information on that, please read the description of this video. I wish you guys the best of luck in your picks today. Let's go ahead and get into the games. We're going to be looking at the Warriors versus the Nets, the Sixers versus the Jazz, and the Spurs versus the Clippers. On this side of the screen is what I call my daily numbers, date numerology, Gregorian Hebrew calendar. And then on this side of the screen is what I call my game numbers. The way that it's structured here is I have the away team up top, their coach's record, their season record. In the middle is the head-to-head record between the two teams all time and for the season. And then at the bottom is the home team, their season record and their coach's record. So let's get started with the Warriors at Brooklyn. This is going to be the 94th all-time head-to-head matchup between these two teams. And what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go over some numbers that will allow the Nets to win this game. And then I'm going to go over some numbers that will allow the Warriors to win this game. So let's look at the Nets first. If the Nets were going to win this game, I would probably say something like 32 date numerology on the Gregorian, 68 date numerology on the Gregorian. The Warriors, they could become 3-2, like 32 for a road record with the loss on a day with 32 date numerology. And the Nets could become 5-2 at home for the season with the win on a day with 68 date numerology. 68 sums to 52 written out. It is a day with 14 date numerology on the Gregorian as well. And the number 14 sums to 40. It being the Warriors' 14th game for the season. Nets can get the 40th all-time head-to-head win against the Warriors. For the Warriors, it's their coach's 561st regular season game. If we pop that in, 561, we find that it is the 33rd triangular number. And maybe that's why the Warriors get their third loss for the season, as they sit on 3 road wins, kind of like a 3-3, 33. And then you can add in the 32 date numerology, they become 3-2. What else? They would sit on 11, they would get 11. 59. I didn't really see much for the 59 on the coach for the Nets. I think that's about it. The 52, the 32, the 33, and then the 14, 40 connection. If the Warriors were going to win this game, it would be more of a 10 pattern. But first, we'd start off with it being the 14 date numerology on the Gregorian. You spell out 14. 14 sums to 41 and 40. But emphasis on the 41, and the Warriors can become 4-1 on the road with the win, like 41 in their 14th game for the season. And the Nets, they would become 4-3 at home, like 43. 43, the 14th prime number with a loss. And the Nets, they're playing back-to-back. They play tomorrow as well. And go to tomorrow. Look ahead, 13-3, 139, the 43rd or the 34th prime. Nothing jumps out at me for tomorrow for the Nets. But if we stick to this day, along with the 14, Nets could become 10-5 for a record with the loss. 10-5 for 105 is the 14th triangular number. And then you can get into a 10 pattern. Nets sit on 10 wins as their coach gets his 29th loss, the 10th prime number. Warriors become 1-0 head-to-head against the Nets, like 10, as the Warriors get their 55th all-time head-to-head win against the Nets, 55, the 10th triangular number. Those would be the numbers for the Warriors to win and for the Nets to win. So good luck on that game. Hopefully this helps. Let's look at the next game, Sixers and the Jazz. We're going to look at the Jazz first, and then we're going to look at the Sixers. So if the Jazz were going to win this game, you might say it's because the 9-5, Jazz could potentially become 95, like 9-5 for a season record. 95 written out sums to 129. It being the 12th day of the 9th month on the Hebrew religious, like 129. That's why I have it marked purple. It is a day with 48 date numerology, as well as 68 date numerology, and we're going to get into both of those numbers. But for the 68, we've written out 68 sums to 52, and Jazz could become 5-2 for a home record with the win. But at the same time, the Sixers can become 5-2 for an away record with the win. So that doesn't really help out much. And then with the 14 date numerology, either one could become 4-3. Jazz could become 4-3 at home or with the loss, or Sixers can become 4-3 on the road with the loss, 43 the 14th prime. So that doesn't really help out at all. One thing that would go against the Sixers, though, is it being their coach's 87th regular season game. 87. Emphasis on the 7. They can get their 7th loss in their 7th away game as they become 8-7, like 87. So they'd be 8-7 for a season record in their 87th game. Their 7th away game, getting their 7th loss. And then you can add in the 9-5. But the 48, Sixers can get their 48th all-time head-to-head win against the Jazz on a day with 48 date numerology for the Gregorian. And that's really the only thing that stands out, because with the 52-43, it goes either way for their home and away records. So it kind of just doesn't really matter with the 14 or the 68 connection. But with 48 date numerology, maybe the Sixers pick up that 48 all-time head-to-head. And the only thing that's really going against the Jazz would be that 48. Other than that, they would have the 9-5, like 95, and potentially the 87 in his 87th. But also the coach, the Sixers coach, it's his 1,711th regular season game coaching, and he could get his 58th regular season win as a coach for the Sixers. 1711, if we pop this in here, is the 58th triangular number. 1711, 58 triangular. 1711, 58. I don't even know. Well, Utah's 8-point favorites, so I guess Sixers winning would be a decent size underdog. That'd be a pretty good underdog if they were to win. But that's what I have for this game. Not a whole lot, I know, but just is what it is for right now. Keep it going. Spurs and the Clippers. Clippers with the same thing. We'll start with the Clippers and then we'll go to the Spurs. Clippers, they can do that 9-5, just like the Jazz potentially could become 9-5. We know written out 95 sums to 129. It will be the 12th day of the 9th month on the Hebrew religious. The 14 could go in Clippers' favor. 14th game for the Clippers, 14th game for the Spurs, 14 date numerology on the Gregorian. The number 14 sums to 104. And the Spurs could become 4-10 for a season record with the loss. 4-10 just is kind of like an anagram of 104. 10-4, 4-10. And then 48 date numerology on the Gregorian. Clippers can get their 48th regular season head-to-head win against the Spurs. 68 date numerology on the Gregorian. 68 sums to 52. Clippers would get their 52nd all-time head-to-head win against the Spurs. Spurs could become 2-6, like 26 on the road with the loss 26 sums to 48. And then it's the Clippers' 10th home game. They could become 1-0 head-to-head against the Spurs for the season with a win like 10, as the Spurs get their 10th loss for the season. On the flip side of that, that would favor the Spurs, though, is with a loss, Clippers coach would sit on 55 regular season wins as a coach for Clippers. 55 is the 10th triangular number. It will be his 86th game as a coach for Clippers regular season. Clippers could become 8-6, like 86 for a season record with the loss. And at the same time, they would become 6-4 at home, like 64 with the loss. 64 sums to 86. And Spurs, they would get their 138th all-time head-to-head win against the Clippers, as the Clippers coach sits on 183 regular season wins for his career. 183, 138 are just anagrams of each other. And the Spurs, they can get their 131st regular season head-to-head win against the Clippers on a day with 32 date numerology for the Gregorian. 131 is the 32nd prime number. So those would be numbers for Spurs and numbers for Clippers. Hopefully it makes sense. Sixers and Jazz, hopefully it made sense. Nets and Warriors, hopefully it made sense. Hopefully this helps you out. I appreciate you guys watching. I appreciate the support. And I wish you the best of luck on your decision, whichever teams you decide to go with. Thanks again.